We tell stories of human way, not with artificial voices or AI slop. In the end, what's HFI without humanity? Subscribe to keep it this way. My name is Amir Sohal. Let's begin. The colony of Arden. Seven had never seen a quiet morning. Yet today, the silence felt wrong. Too complete. The kind of silence that creeps into your bones and whispers that something bad is coming. At the edge of the colony, a young human named Eliur Kane paced back and forth in his small control room. His fingers hovered over the communication panel, and his mind raced faster than the colony's emergency alarms. Every system was online, but nothing made sense. Strange energy spikes had appeared near the settlement's perimeter, and the readings were unusual, deadly unusual. A sharp chime broke the tension. Eliur froze. A transmission flickered on the holoscreen. The voice that came through was desperate, almost broken. Eliur, we have no time. They've sent her. You must prepare. Don't let her find you alone. The line went dead. Eliur's heart pounded. Her, the apex assassin. Only a few humans had ever survived an encounter with her. She was more than a soldier. She was a ghost, a predator trained in silence, speed, and deadly precision. And now, she was on Arden 7. He grabbed his coat and ran toward the colony's outer gate. The streets were eerily empty. Shops and habitats, usually buzzing with life, were silent. Something in the air felt wrong, like the calm before a storm. From the sky, a dark shadow fell. A small ship, sleek and almost invisible, descended silently into the colony's central plaza. No alarms, no warnings, only the soft hum of its engines. The people who had been outside froze in fear. Some ran, others hid. But Eliur stayed where he was, watching. The ship's hatch opened with a hiss, and out stepped a figure that made everyone gasp. She was tall, moving like liquid silk, her eyes cold and precise. The legendary apex assassin had arrived. No one spoke. No one moved. And then she saw him. Eliur's stomach clenched. He had no weapons, no backup, nothing but a small satchel of coffee beans he had roasted himself that morning. He didn't know why, but a strange calm washed over him. Maybe it was courage. Maybe it was foolishness. He stepped forward. Coffee? He asked, holding out the small cup. The assassin paused. Her eyes narrowed, scanning him, calculating. Her mission was clear. Kill the human. End of story. But something about him, something in his calm voice, the way he didn't cower, confused her. The human smiled gently, unaware of the danger. It's strong, just the way you like it. She tilted her head, still suspicious. This wasn't part of the plan. Nothing like this had ever happened before. Humans were supposed to fear her. They were supposed to run. And yet, he offered her coffee. Suddenly, the silence of Arden 7 shattered. Another ship appeared on the horizon. Smaller, faster, and armed. The colony was surrounded. Eliur's mind raced. He had no time to run, no time to hide. But he had to act. Stay calm, he whispered to himself. Think. Just think. The assassin's gaze shifted to the approaching threat. For a moment, hesitation flickered across her face. Could she trust him? Should she trust him? Her training screamed no. Her instincts screamed yes. Eliur moved closer. It's okay. You don't have to do this. You can leave if you want. But we need to survive first. Her lips twitched. Not quite a smile, but not a frown either. She didn't trust him. Not yet. But for some reason, she didn't attack. The smaller ships landed around the colony, and soldiers poured out. Alien armor glinted under Arden 7's sun. Their weapons were advanced, lethal, and designed for one thing: destruction. Eliur grabbed the assassin's hand before she could react. Come with me. Now. For the first time in her life, the apex assassin hesitated. Someone was offering her an alliance. Not fear, not blood. It was confusing, strange, and intriguing. They ran through the alleyways of the colony, dodging patrols and laser scans. The humans who had hidden peeked from behind corners, whispers spreading quickly. The assassin, she's with him? Eliur led her to the old maintenance tunnels beneath the city. Dim lights flickered on as they descended. The air smelled of oil, dust, and old machinery. Perfect for hiding. Perfect for thinking. Why are you helping me? She asked, her voice low, almost a whisper. Elier shrugged. I don't know. Maybe I just don't want to die today. Maybe it's the coffee. She blinked. No one had ever joked with her in this tone before. Most humans screamed, cried, or ran. Not him. He offered a strange calm, a quiet confidence and warmth. The sounds of battle echoed above. Laser fire, shouts, explosions. Arden 7 was under siege, and in a few minutes, the colony might be nothing but rubble. Elier handed her another cup of coffee. Drink. We need energy if we want to survive. She stared at it, then at him, then at the tunnels ahead. Something shifted. A tiny flicker of doubt in her mind. Could she trust him enough to survive? Could she trust a human ever? Before she could answer, a massive explosion rocked the surface. Dust and debris rained down. The tunnels shook. They were running out of time. Elier grabbed her arm. We need to move. Now! As they ran deeper into the tunnels, Elier couldn't help but wonder, was this human courage or sheer stupidity? And for the assassin, was this the first time she had faced something she couldn't calculate, couldn't control, and couldn't kill with her skills alone? Outside Arden 7 burned. Fires lit the horizon. The alien forces had arrived, and the colony's defenses were crumbling. But in these tunnels, a human and an apex assassin ran together, forming a fragile, unlikely alliance. And for the first time, the assassin felt something she had never felt before: curiosity. She glanced at the human beside her. You may regret this, she said. He smiled, sipping his coffee. Maybe, but maybe not. Let's see if we can survive first. Somewhere above them, chaos reigned. Below, in the shadows, a new story had begun. For Arden 7, the desperate call had been answered, but no one yet knew the price they would have to pay or the choices they would be forced to make. The apex assassin paused in the tunnel, her weapon ready, her mind racing. And yet, she didn't strike. Not yet. She was learning something new about humans, something dangerous, something that could change everything. And just like that, the calm before the storm became the storm itself. Arden 7 was no longer safe, but the real danger had just begun. Elier offered her coffee. She took it, and in that moment, an unspoken agreement formed. An alliance neither of them fully understood, but both knew they needed to survive. The colony above would burn, but in the tunnels below, the first seeds of trust and conflict were planted. And the desperate call? It was only the beginning. The tunnels beneath Arden 7 were dark, damp, and confusing. Pipes ran along the walls, dripping water onto the metal floor. Sparks flew from broken circuit above, casting brief flashes of light. The human, Elier Kane, led the way, and the apex assassin followed silently, her steps soundless, calculated, every muscle tense. For the first time in decades, she felt cautious, not because she feared him. She feared nothing, but because she didn't understand him. Humans were unpredictable, and this one was different. Calm, smiling, offering coffee in the middle of a war zone. You're quiet, Elier said, glancing at her. His voice echoed slightly in the tunnel. Do you always follow people into tunnels? She paused, her hand brushing against the wall. I follow my target until it dies. That's the protocol. He chuckled. Protocol doesn't save you from trouble, you know. She stared at him, her expression unreadable. I don't get you. You're fearless, or foolish. Which is it? Elier shrugged. Maybe both. But right now we need to survive. I don't want you dead, and I don't want to die either. For the assassin, that was strange. Most humans screamed, ran, begged. Not him. He spoke like a general, but without a weapon in his hand. And yet, he wasn't reckless. Every movement had purpose. They reached a junction in the tunnels. Red emergency lights flickered, casting the walls in an ominous glow. Above them, explosions shook the colony. Dust and smoke poured through cracks in the ceiling. Elier held up a hand. Listen. She stopped, every sense alert. From somewhere deep in the tunnels came a faint hum, like machinery, but faster, more deliberate. Then came voices, sharp and commanding. Alien voices. Their patrols were here. They're close, she murmured. We need to move. Elliot smiled faintly. Good. Then we move together. The assassin looked at him, puzzled. He didn't sound scared. Humans rarely stayed calm under fire, rarely worked with aliens like her. She couldn't place it. It made her curious. As they ran, Elliot explained his plan. We can get to the old maintenance bay. There are emergency generators and a few supplies left. If we hide there, we can regroup and figure out our next move. Why trust me? She asked. Elliot shrugged again. I don't know. Maybe I don't. But right now, your enemies are also mine. And I think we're stronger together than apart. She almost laughed. Almost. But she didn't. They reached the maintenance bay, a cavernous space filled with broken machinery, crates, and dusty workbenches. Elliot immediately started checking supplies. While she scanned the perimeter, every sense focused. They won't find us here, he said, breaking open a crate of emergency rations. Not easily, anyway. Good, she said softly, because if they do, it's over. Elliot poured 2 cups of water from a small container. He handed one to her. Here, hydrate. We're going to need energy. She took it, and for a brief moment, her cold expression softened. The simplest gesture, water from a human, felt strange, alien, foreign. Suddenly, the ground trembled. The doors of the maintenance bay shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Someone, or something, was trying to break in. They're closer than I thought, she said, her voice calm, but her body tense like a coiled spring. Elliot nodded. Time to see how brave we really are. He grabbed a small toolkit from the bench and started assembling something. She watched silently. Every human she had met would have panicked, screamed, or frozen. This one built something. Calmly, efficiently, and without hesitation. What are you doing? She asked. Improvised defense, he said simply. A few old drones modified. Nothing fancy, but enough to slow them down. She tilted her head. Drones. Human ingenuity. Not raw power, not weapons, not elite tactics, just brains. The first alarm blared. Alien soldiers stormed the entrance, armored and lethal. Elliot activated the drones. They buzzed to life, flaring lights and emitting blinding flashes. Some of the intruders stumbled, disoriented. The assassin moved like a shadow, taking precise shots of the enemy with silent, lethal accuracy. Each move she made was deadly, elegant, unstoppable. And yet, she didn't kill indiscriminately. She watched Elliot, protecting him without even thinking. Why aren't you running? She asked, surprised. Because I don't run, he replied. And because I think you might like to survive, too. Her brow twitched. He was talking nonsense. Humans didn't think like this. Humans fought or died. They didn't philosophize in the middle of a firefight. Yet, something in his voice resonated with her. Something familiar. Hours seemed to pass in minutes. The firefight continued, with explosions shaking the structure above. Elliot and the assassin moved together like a single unit. Her strength, his brains, their combined willpower creating a rhythm that even the aliens couldn't predict. At one point, an alien soldier broke through a weak panel and aimed directly at Elliot. The assassin reacted instantly, moving in front of him, taking the hit herself, but not with a fatal blow. Just a glancing strike, enough to knock him out of danger. Elliot blinked, then smiled weakly. Careful, that could have hurt. She frowned. Why didn't you scream? Because screaming doesn't save lives, he said simply. And in that moment, she understood something. Humans were unpredictable, frightening, but also strong. Not physically, but in ways she couldn't calculate. Courage, hope, trust. Things no training could teach. As night fell over Arden 7, the battle slowed. The alien patrols regrouped outside, unsure of the humans' defense. The maintenance bay was battered, sparking and smoking, but still standing. Elliot sat on a crate, sipping water, his face smeared with dust and sweat. Not bad, he said lightly. The assassin, leaning against the wall, finally allowed herself to exhale. I didn't expect this, she admitted softly. Elliot grinned. Neither did I, but we made it this far. That counts for something. A strange silence fell over them. The distant sound of explosions echoed through the colony, but in the maintenance bay, They shared a moment, a fragile truce, an understanding without words. Then a new alert lit up the room. Hollow screens flickered to life. Images of a distant planet coordinates, and a countdown timer appeared. Someone, somewhere was watching. The assassin's eyes narrowed. They're not done. This is bigger than Arden. 7. Much bigger. Eliur stared at the screen, realization dawning. So, we're not just surviving for today. We're surviving for tomorrow, and the day after, and every day until they stop coming. She studied him silently. Something in her shifted again. Respect, curiosity, perhaps even trust. For a long moment, they just sat there, listening to the distant chaos. Then Eliur stood, brushing dust from his coat. We need to move before they find another way in. Follow me. They navigated deeper into the tunnels, following old maps and instincts. Every corner, every shadow could hide a threat, but neither spoke fear aloud. Fear existed, yes, but courage existed too. Courage was what kept them alive, what made humans dangerous. Suddenly, the assassin stopped. She crouched, listening. Eliur froze beside her. A low hum vibrated through the tunnels. Something alive, bigger than any patrol, was approaching. Not soldiers, she whispered. Something else. Eliur's eyes widened. What do you mean? She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The sound grew louder, more menacing. Metal scraping against metal. Shadows stretching unnaturally. It wasn't just another attack. It was hunting. The human didn't flinch. He simply nodded. Then we run differently. Together, they sprinted deeper into the labyrinth. Every step was measured, precise. The humming grew louder, the vibrations shaking the walls. And yet, Eliur whispered calmly, "Trust me." For the first time, the assassin felt something she had never felt before, a glimmer of hope. Hope in a human. And she realized slowly that this was more dangerous than any weapon, any training, any mission. Because humans were unpredictable, and unpredictability was lethal. As the tunnel twisted and turned, the shadows behind them growing longer, the story of Eliur Kane and the apex assassin had only begun. The desperate call had led them here, but now a new challenge loomed, a challenge that neither could survive alone. The human offered coffee. She had taken it, and now she would take something more, trust, and that trust could either save them both or doom them forever. The tunnels beneath Arden, 7 were no longer just a hiding place. They had become a battlefield. Dust swirled in the dim lights, mixing with smoke from distant explosions above. Eliur and the apex assassin moved cautiously, every step measured, every shadow potentially deadly. The humming sound from before had grown louder. It wasn't just patrols. Something massive, something alive, something hunting. Eliur glanced at her. We need a plan. Fast. She nodded. I have an idea, but it's risky. Eliur raised an eyebrow. Risk is our middle name, apparently. They crouched behind a rusted bulkhead as a massive shape moved above them. Shadows stretched across the tunnel walls, twisting unnaturally. Eliur's pulse quickened, but he didn't panic. He had learned something about fear from humans. It wasn't about hiding from it, but using it. The creature or machine paused. Its sensors swept the tunnels, catching every vibration, every sound. Eliur whispered, "We need to make it think we're somewhere else." The assassin tilted her head. "Diversion?" "Exactly," he said, quickly assembling a small device from spare drone parts and scraps of metal. "This will make noise, flashes, hopefully enough to distract it." She watched him work silently, impressed despite herself. Humans were fragile, weak, yet capable of brilliance when cornered. "Ready?" Eliur asked, holding the device in his hands. She nodded. "Go." He activated it. Sparks flew. A loud, metallic hum filled the tunnel. A blinding light flashed. The massive shape above hissed, its sensors reacting. The creature moved toward the noise, leaving a narrow path behind. "Move!" Eliur yelled, and they sprinted through the tunnel. They emerged into a wider chamber, once a storage hall, now half destroyed by battle. Crates and machinery lay scattered, providing cover. For a moment, they caught their breath. You're different, the assassin said quietly, as they crouched behind a crate. Most humans would be dead by now, or screaming. Elier smiled faintly. I told you, fear isn't everything. Courage and thinking ahead, that's what matters. She studied him. Something in his eyes, the calm determination, reminded her of the soldiers she had once trained with, not the elite killers. They were predictable, but the ones who survived because of their choices. Above, the distant hum returned. The massive creature, or perhaps multiple, was regrouping. Its metallic feet clanged against the tunnel. Echoing through the chamber, Elier's mind raced. They couldn't stay here. Not with the colony under siege. Not with the alien patrols still on the surface. And definitely not with whatever hunted them in these tunnels. We need allies, he said finally. People we can trust. She frowned. You mean other humans? Yes, but not just humans. We need anyone willing to survive. He paused and added, even if that includes me trusting you. Her eyes narrowed, but she didn't deny it. Suddenly, the ceiling above trembled violently. Cracks snaked along the metal beams, and dust fell like rain. A shadow descended from above, a massive alien drone, armed with spinning blades and energy cannons. Not again, Elier muttered. The assassin didn't hesitate. She moved first, leaping with cat-like grace, landing silently behind the drone. With a swift, precise motion, she disabled its weapon systems. Sparks flew, and the drone staggered. Elier ran forward, using confusion to rig explosives from scattered crates. Get ready, he shouted. The drone charged. The assassin darted in front of it, forcing it to focus on her. She leapt aside at the last moment. Elier detonated the charges. The explosion rocked the chamber. Smoke and fire filled the air. When it cleared, the drone lay in pieces. Breathing hard, Elier turned to her. See? Working together isn't so bad. She smirked faintly, the first real expression she had shown. Don't get used to it. The brief moment of triumph ended abruptly. From deeper in the tunnels, screams echoed, human screams. Patrols had found other survivors. Innocent lives were in immediate danger. Elier clenched his fists. We can't let them die. Not while we're alive. The assassin looked at him. Then we fight. Together. And so, an alliance was formed. Not out of trust, not yet, but necessity. They moved through the tunnels quickly, silently, taking down alien patrols with a combination of her deadly precision and his clever improvisation. Every step was a balance of strategy and instinct. Humans were weak physically, but their minds, Elier proved it, could outmaneuver the deadliest predator. At one point, they reached a collapsed section of the tunnel. Elier examined it. We can climb through, but it's unstable. You'll go first. She tilted her head. You're not going first? He shook his head. Nope. I trust you to survive this. I'll follow. Her lips twitched. Humans were odd, brave, reckless, stubborn, dangerous. She had underestimated them before. She wouldn't again. With careful movements, she climbed through the rubble, pulling herself into a narrow shaft. Elier followed, slower, careful. The walls were crumbling, dust everywhere. But they emerged on the other side, into a hidden chamber. Inside, other survivors had gathered, a mix of humans and a few alien defectors. Weapons, food, and supplies were scattered, but there was life and hope. Elier stepped forward. We need to organize. We're not just surviving ourselves anymore. We're protecting everyone here. The assassin scanned the room, noting each face, each weapon, each weakness. She didn't have to say it aloud. She would help. For now, survival came first. But then, an alarm blared. The colony above shook. Explosions lit the tunnels in the distance. And then, the unmistakable sound of multiple massive creatures approaching. They're coming, she said calmly. Elier's jaw tightened. Then we fight. Together. For the first time, the apex assassin realized something humans possess that no training, no weapon, no skill could teach. Unpredictable courage. Courage paired with hope. Courage paired with strategy. Courage that could turn even the deadliest battlefield into an advantage. The survivors prepared. Weapons were readied. Drones, explosives, and makeshift traps were placed strategically. And through it all, the assassin and Elier moved as one, silent communication passing between them. The massive creatures entered the tunnels, shapes twisting unnaturally, their metallic limbs scraping against walls. The survivors held their ground, firing, running, dodging. Chaos reigned. And then, a moment of brilliance. Elier had rigged the tunnels to collapse in precise sections, funneling the creatures into narrow paths. The assassin moved ahead, taking out drones and patrols while the humans followed behind. Explosions, sparks, and dust filled the tunnels. Every movement was synchronized, every action purposeful. By sheer ingenuity and combined skill, they managed to trap several of the creatures in collapsed sections. The survivors cheered quietly. It was temporary, but it bought them time. The assassin looked at Elier. I didn't think humans could be this strategic, this brave. Elier shrugged, wiping sweat from his brow. We surprise you. That's all. A flicker of something passed over her face. Respect. Not trust, not friendship, but recognition. Humans were dangerous in ways she hadn't calculated. And this one human with coffee in hand had proven it. The chamber fell silent for a moment. Everyone caught their breath. Fire still burned above, alarms still blared. But for a moment, survival seemed possible. But the shadows in the tunnels shifted again. The hum returned, louder, more menacing. The creatures weren't done. Not even close. Elier's eyes met hers. We'll handle it. Together. She nodded. For now. The alliance of necessity was no longer a choice. It was survival. And as the humans and the apex assassin moved deeper into the tunnels, one thing became clear. Arden, 7 wasn't just a colony under attack. It was the beginning of something bigger. Something dangerous. Something that would test every limit of courage, strategy, and trust. And both knew that the real battle had only just begun. Because in the vastness of space, unpredictable courage could be the deadliest weapon of all. The tunnels of Arden 7 had grown colder as night fell. Dust hung thick in the air, mixing with smoke from fires above. Broken machinery lined the walls, and a flicker of emergency lights cast eerie shadows. Elier Kane moved carefully, the apex assassin beside him. Their alliance, born of necessity, had held so far, but tension lingered. She still didn't trust him. He still didn't know how much he could trust her. And yet, survival had forced them together. Above, the colony burned. Alien patrols had regrouped. Massive creatures still hunted through the tunnels, their metallic limbs scraping. Sensors scanning for any sign of life. Elier paused, catching his breath. He studied the assassin. We've made it this far, but it's not over yet. Not for anyone. She didn't respond immediately. Her eyes scanned the shadows, calculating, always calculating. Then, almost quietly, she said, humans are more dangerous than I thought. Elier raised an eyebrow. Dangerous? Really? That's the first compliment I've gotten from a predator today. She glanced at him, lips twitching. Not a compliment. Observation. He smiled. I'll take it anyway. The tunnel shook suddenly. Dust fell from above. An explosion rocked the chamber ahead. Some of the survivors screamed, panic rising. But Elier moved first, grabbing a small child and pulling her behind a crate. The assassin moved instinctively, taking out a patrolling drone with a silent strike. Elier looked at her. You see? Courage. Brains. Action. That's what humans do. She shook her head, almost in disbelief. It's unlike anything I've trained for. They emerged into a larger chamber, once a storage hall for supplies, now filled with rubble and fallen beams. The survivors had gathered here. Humans, and a few alien defectors who had refused to fight their own kind. Their faces were pale with fear, but hope lingered in their eyes. Elier stepped forward. We can't just survive. We have to fight smart. We have to show them that humans, our people, won't just hide. The assassin tilted her head. You want a war? No, he said softly. I want survival, and I want to prove something. He looked at her directly. That courage, trust, and choice can be stronger than any weapon. She stared at him, her expression unreadable. He had no weapons, no advanced armor, nothing but determination, and coffee, of course. Yet here he was, organizing survivors, inspiring them, leading with brains and courage. The ground trembled beneath them. Shadows stretched across the walls as massive shapes moved closer. The alien patrols weren't the only threat. Something bigger, more dangerous, had arrived. Elier took a deep breath. We fight together. And when it's over, we make a choice. Each of us. The assassin's eyes narrowed. Choice? Humans and their strange ideas of morality. Do you really think that matters in a war? He smiled faintly. It matters to survive. It matters to live. And it matters to trust just a little. They moved to the chamber, setting traps, organizing survivors. Explosives were placed, narrow paths chosen to funnel enemies, and every shadow was covered. The apex assassin moved with deadly precision, but her focus now included the humans, protecting them rather than killing them. Hours passed, and the first wave of massive creatures entered. They were terrifying, shapes twisted in ways nature had never intended, metal fused with organic tissue, limbs sharp and strong. Their sensors scanned the chamber, detecting every movement. Elier whispered, "Remember your training. Move when I say." She smirked faintly. "I don't take orders from humans." "You'll follow mine anyway," he said, pointing to a narrow corridor. "That way, they get funneled into our traps." And it worked. The creatures moved as predicted. The survivors fired. Drones buzzed. Explosions rocked the chamber, and the apex assassin struck silently, eliminating threats with precision. Every move was coordinated, every action planned. But then disaster. One massive creature broke through a reinforced wall, its energy cannon aiming directly at the human survivors. Panic surged. Elier ran forward without hesitation. "Move!" he shouted. He grabbed the nearest survivor and pushed him out of harm's way. The assassin followed, her instincts guiding her. She struck the creature's weak point, but it barely flinched. "Elier!" she yelled. "Step back." "No," he said firmly. "I protect them. I protect everyone." For a moment, she froze. Humans were reckless, fearless in ways she hadn't anticipated. They didn't just fight, they inspired others to fight. And now, she realized this was why humans survived. Not strength alone, but courage, ingenuity, and choice. With a coordinated strike, they managed to disable the creature. Temporarily, the survivors cheered quietly, but the battle was far from over. They moved to a small alcove, catching their breath. Elier's hands were bruised, sweat running down his face. The assassin stood silently, evaluating him. "You're different," she said finally. "I've faced killers, generals, warlords, but never anyone like you." He smiled faintly. "I told you. Humans surprise you." She shook her head. "This trust, courage, I've never seen it. And I don't know if I can ever go back to what I was trained for." Elier placed a hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to. Not today. Not with me. Not with us." The creature's sensors flickered on the hollow screen. Another wave approached, faster, stronger, more lethal. Above, the colony burned, and the alien patrols regrouped. Time was running out. Elier turned to the survivors. "We have one shot. We fight smart, we fight together. And when it's done, we decide what kind of future we want." The assassin studied him, then the humans. Something inside her shifted. She lowered her weapon, not out of weakness, but choice. For the first time, she wasn't following orders. She was following trust. The next wave of creatures entered. The humans and the apex assassin moved as one unit. Trap, strategy, and courage combined to create a defense no alien could predict. Each attack was met with precision. Each move calculated yet instinctive. Hours blurred. Explosions, screams, and flashes of light filled the chamber. Survival depended not on weapons alone, but on coordination, trust, and courage. And slowly, against impossible odds, they pushed the attackers back. One by one, the alien patrols fell. The massive creatures retreated, their metallic claws scraping against walls. Arden, Seven was battered, scarred, but still standing. In the quiet that followed, Elier looked around. Survivors were alive, shaken but hopeful. The apex assassin stood beside him, her expression unreadable but softer than before. You survived," she said finally, almost as a statement to herself. Elier smiled. We survived. Together. She tilted her head, then nodded. Perhaps humans are worth understanding after all. He chuckled softly. Maybe, but you still owe me coffee. A small, almost human smile appeared on her lips. I suppose I do. For a moment, silence fell over the chamber. Fires burned above, alarms still echoed, but in that moment, something new existed. Trust, choice, and understanding between two unlikely allies. Elier turned to her. So, what now? She studied the colony, the survivors, and the tunnels. Now we rebuild, we survive, and we choose our own path. No orders, no missions, just life. And in that moment, Arden 7 was no longer just a colony under attack. It had become a symbol, a proof that courage, choice, and trust could overcome even the deadliest enemies. The apex assassin looked at Elier one last time. You changed something in me today. Something I didn't expect. He smiled faintly. Humans do that sometimes. She paused, then disappeared into the shadows of the tunnels. Not as a threat, not as an assassin, but as someone who had chosen a different path. Elier watched her go, sipping the coffee she had taken earlier. The colony was still burning, still recovering, but for the first time, hope existed. And somewhere far away, watching the events unfold, others began to notice. A human had survived the impossible. An apex assassin had chosen trust. And the universe had taken notice. The story of Arden 7, the humans, and the apex assassin was far from over. But one thing was certain. Courage, choice, and trust were more dangerous than any weapon. And the universe would never forget it. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to subscribe to the channel and support us. It really helps us grow and bring more videos like this. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.